I could have been watching the cricket right now, but instead I'm talking to you about bloody Wormadam. Hi, I'm OnionGrave64, Civil Onion, or Daniel, depending on how you know me. And Wormadam is this week's Pokemon of the Week. I am so enthused. He lied. Wormadam, to explain, can be one of 3 different types. It can be bug grass, it can be bug ground, or it can be bug steel. When Burmy gets to a certain level and it levels up, it evolves into which type of Wormadam depending on where it leveled up. If it leveled up in shrubbery and forestry, it evolves into Wormadam P. If it evolves when it's in the desert or something like that, it evolves into Wormadam G. And if it's in a building or a city and it levels up and evolves, it turns into Wormadam T. I'll talk about the other 2 in a moment. We'll start with Wormadam P. It's the most common when you're playing in-game because obviously there are a lot of grass and shrubbery locations. Wormadam P is the most specially biased of the 3 Wormadam forms. They do have different stats, which makes them quite different to certain other Pokemon with different forms. And Wormadam P has the highest special defense of the lot with base 105. Unfortunately, that's not very impressive when its HP rather is base 60, and its base defense is a very average 85. Out of the 3 Wormadams, it is most likely to attack specially as well, as it has base 79, which is the highest of the 3 as well. However, its base attack is the lowest at base 59 and is pretty much unusable. Its base defense at 85 is also the lowest of the 3, and like I said, it's very mediocre. All Wormadams have the exact same speed at base 36, which is awful. I don't think I need to tell you that. Being bug grass, Wormadam P is weak to bug, fire, flying, ice, poison and rock. Fire and flying are quadruple weaknesses, so if you get hit by even the weakest of those moves, you're not very likely to survive. It does have some nice resistances though. It's quadruple weak to grass and ground, which is a combination is very handy indeed. But it also resists electric, fighting and water. Sounds reasonably good when you look at the resistances because they're resistant to quite a lot of common types. Its abilities though are shocking. Anticipation makes Wormadam shudder. That's it. It shudders when a Pokemon on the opposing team that is out against you has a move that is super effective on you. And Wormadam P, being weak to 6 different types, this happens a lot, so it is pretty much useless for you. Overcoat prevents you taking sandstorm or hail damage, and that's it. So really it's not very good either, especially because you'll be using this in NU, where there's almost never any weather effects. So it doesn't really matter which ability you pick, because they're both rubbish. Wormadam G is actually a Wormadam I've used before, believe it or not. Out of the 3 I have actually used Wormadam G in the past. If you look at its base stats, its attack and defense are both 20 base higher than the plant version, but both its specials are 20 lower. This is a theme that you'll see throughout and is involved in the 3rd Wormadam as well. Being bug ground though, which I think is a better type combination, Wormadam G being a bug ground type is weak to 4 things rather than the incredible 6 that Wormadam P is weak to. It is weak to fire, flying, ice and water. It only has 3 resistances though, fighting, poison and ground respectively. It is immune to electric though, so at least that's something. The 3rd Wormadam is Wormadam T. Of all its base stats, this is the middle of the road Wormadam. Whereas the ground and grass type Wormadams had a base 79 in one attack and a 59 in the other, this is even at 69s apiece. Likewise with the defense, the other 2 Wormadams have a base 105 and base 85. Wormadam T has 2 95s. It's the equivalent of the Regis, this being the Regi Steel where all its stats are more evenly balanced. It's only got 1 weakness because it's bug steel type and it's 4 times weak to fire. Because it's part steel, it also has a catalogue of resistances. Bug, dark, dragon, ghost, grass, ice, normal, psychic and steel, it all resists. It's also immune to poison, which in NU is quite important because you won't likely see it in many other tiers, but poison is quite common in NU. Unfortunately though, because its base stats are so evenly distributed, it's rubbish at everything. But I'm going to try and do 1 set for each Wormadam to try and utilise its skills the best way possible. I could not come up with 9 sets for 3 different Wormadams combined, and if you can, you're a bit mental. So let's get on to the Wormadam P set. And you're already 4 times weak to the sun, so why not make yourself even more weak to the sun. So we have Sunny Day. That may seem weird, but it makes your growth, rather than growth raising attack and special attack by 1 stage apiece when you use it, when it's in the sun, it's 2 apiece. So you can double your special attack in one go. Very nice. You then get to choose your stab move. It can either be Solar Beam if you're very much certain that you'll keep the sun up, and in NU that's very likely, but just in case you want to play it safe, you can run Giga Drain as well. That will obviously heal you as you go. Last move, you can either utilise the sun and get Hidden Power Fight. I've put the IVs there for you, just so you know what Hidden Power Fight is. But alternatively, Synthesis raises your HP by more than half if it's sunny, 50% when it's not in the sun, and even more when it is in the sun. So as a result, this can make this Pokemon last a lot longer, so it can set Sunny Day up multiple times. There are 2 ways to go about this set. You can go defensively and maximise your HP and special defence, put on a Heat Rock to make your sun last longer and then switch away, mostly. Or you can put a Life Orb on it to try and make your really quite poor special attack reasonable, maximise your special attack, run it with a modest nature, and go very attacking. If you do that, even regardless of which set you use, but especially if you go offensively, never ever take it out of NU. It can't even use its dual stab because it learns Signal Beam, but that's pretty poor. Doesn't even learn Bug Buzz. Signal Beam, if you are tempted to use it, is base 75 and has a chance of confusion. Confusion obviously being more useful if you go first, so you can get a random turn of not being hit that you wouldn't expect otherwise. But if you're determined to have dual stab, that is your only real option. I mean, there's Struggle Bug. Ah dear. But there's not much else going for it. Go on to Wormadam G, and this is a set that I have genuinely used before. Wormadam G is quite bulky on the physical side, so maximising its physical defence is pretty logical. Maximising its HP will make it last a lot longer too. And what we're doing with this Wormadam is recognising that Wormadam is really quite poor at attacking, so we're not really attacking at all. We're going to use Toxic as our means of doing damage, and then spamming Protect to make sure you don't die. If you don't want to keep spamming Protect because the odds of Protect working halve each time you use it consecutively, you can set up Stealth Rock. The reason I put Psychic up there is because I use this Wormadam in a doubles team, and I have other Pokemon around Wormadam statting up and then I cycle up the boosts. Obviously don't use that for singles, I just thought I'd put it there for reference sake. The thing that makes this set viable though is the fact that Wormadam somehow, and I really don't know how, learns Sucker Punch. It has no fists, but that comes from the fact that the Japanese version of Sucker Punch has no reference to punching or kicking. Sucker Punch is a base 80 power move, it's Dark type, and it always pretty much goes first. It goes and fails if it doesn't go first. So if somebody else uses a priority move on you and they're quicker than you, Sucker Punch will fail. But the reason Sucker Punch is useful is because when the opponent's been worn down to a sufficiently low HP, you can do normally just enough damage to kill them with Sucker Punch before they attack you again. So that's why that's there. And as I put in the second note, at least this Wormadam has a somewhat unique typing. Nincada has it, but nobody ever uses that. And like I said, Bug Ground isn't terrible, it just doesn't have too many resistances. Obviously it gives you an immunity, which is nice. Finally, we better get onto Wormadam T. And because Wormadam T has averaged out stats, it's really not any good at anything. So I really struggled to come up with a set. This is what I've come up with. Making Wormadam T as slow as you possibly can. Making your speed IV 0, getting a brave or a relaxed nature, and then using the fact that you are so incredibly slow and using Gyro Ball to do your main damage. You get stab off it at the very least, that's something. But other than that, this Wormadam doesn't have a lot going for it. Sucker Punch in conjunction with Gyro Ball because you're so slow is a nice way of getting around your speed deficit, in case they're on very low HP. And if they are indeed on very low HP, you can have a punt and try and use Endeavour if you don't think you can kill it. That is if your HP is quite low. As you may have worked out, I'm running out of moves for this Wormadam, so I've not even bothered with the last one. Wormadam's move pool is so pathetic that any move that you could fit on it, that it learns, put on it. It could be Swagger, it could be Toxic, it could be Stealth Rock, just anything to put in there because you probably won't ever use it. It's very much a shame because Bug Steel is a really good typing. Obviously, two very common Pokemon, Scizor and Fortress, use Bug Steel to their advantage. Wormadam can't do these things because it's so rubbish. It's a shame, but there's not a lot you can do about it. Hope you found this useful, and if you are insane enough to use Wormadam, let me know in the comments section and let me know how you've used it, or if you intend to use it in the way I've told you. Thank you very much for listening.